My ex-girlfriend Sarah got me because of my best friend John. John and I had been friends for many years, and one day he asked me to join his friends group. It was an 8-person band who felt like a family and not a friend. They took me in like an iceberg, I suppose. Being new in a crowd can be nerve-wracking, but I didn't mind. Sarah was one of them, and right from the beginning, something about her got me. Originally, Sarah and I were new friends. It was always the group who went out for movies, bonfires, dinners, and occasionally a weekend at the lake. They were the sort of people who made you feel at home. At first I didn't see Sarah much, but I started. She laughed like a dog, she looked like she'd been dreaming, and she had this knack of putting everyone at ease. Soon enough I found out I liked her. Surprise, Sarah liked me too. One of the girls, Rachel, misspoke during a small talk. I could hear my heart pound. A little encouragement from John got me to try it, ask her out. Sarah said yes, and so began what I believed would be my life forever. We were married a couple of weeks later, and it seemed to have all clicked. And the first months of our marriage were heaven on earth. So many times, knowing each other's quirky dreams. Sarah was all that I could have hoped for. Sweet, funny, kind, and beautiful. She did this thing of making me feel like the most important person in the world. The group was very much happy for us. They'd joke about us as the power couple, and how we made the perfect match. I loved having them there, because these were the people that had become like family to me. John especially was thrilled. He was always my rock, and as long as I was happy, he was happy. Over time, I became in love with Sarah. He and I dated for almost 3 years, and at that point I felt like I finally had it. We never got into a fight, and when we did it was over the minor details of things such as what to eat for dinner, or whose turn it was to choose the movie. We were a good couple. I felt we were always going to take on the world together. My second year together, I had figured Sarah out as the one. I began to dream of what we would be when we got married and had kids and a little home where we could grow old. Never before had I felt so sure of someone. It was not love, but an indestructible connection. Or so I thought. It was our 3rd anniversary, and I was ready to go. I was going to propose to Sarah. I'd been mulling it over for months, and now I could get to it. My wish was for the proposal to be fairy tale perfect. I pictured a date night by the sea at sunset, perhaps with fairy lights up and around our necks, and a speech about how much she means to me. It had to be one of those things we'd never forget. I told John what I was doing. He was awestruck and came over to help right away. "Do whatever you need. I got your back," he said, smiling. I had the best support imaginable with his help, so I said I would bring the other members of the group along as well. They were family after all, and I thought they would be a special part of this anniversary. I called them all in one night, minus Sarah of course, and told them what I was doing. "I'm going to propose to Sarah," I said ecstatically. I was hoping for claps and embraces, and maybe some tears of delight. I got nothing in contrast. Everyone just looked at each other with these weird, uncomfortably gifts. "Come on, what the heck is going on?" I was trying to be cheerful. They said nothing, pretending they were happy for me, but they weren't responding well. Something was not right. I could feel them tucking something away and wouldn't let it go. I asked them again, and that's when Rachel confessed the truth. "Sarah's been sleeping with Mark," she said snidely. Another guy in the group, Mark, was a friend of mine. Rachel continued. This had been happening ever since we started dating. My mind went blank. I originally assumed it was some cruel joke, but Mark's face said it all. He didn't even look me in the eye. He couldn't make it out other than, sorry. The betrayal came as a big brick to my back. I wiped the sweat from my cheeks when it came to light. It was as if the room engulfed me, and my chest sucked. And I did. Without words, I got up and left. Had I stayed, I could have done something stupid. John followed me outside. "No man, I had no idea." He said this in a voice of genuine horror and sorrow. I believed him. John had never been afraid to be open with me, and he was obviously as dumbstruck as I was. He let me live with him for a while, and I said yes. I wanted some time to digest all of it. Sarah had found out and started shooting up my phone when she learned. Calls, texts, you name it. She even came to John's house, but he fought back and put her away. Not yet I couldn't see her. The betrayal was too recent, too naked. John went back to the party to find out. When he came back, the information was worse than I could have imagined. Sarah and Mark had had an affair only 3 months after we were together. It wasn't a once-in-a-lifetime blunder. And it was regular, several times a month for almost 2 years. And the worst part, everyone in the group knew. All of them had been quiet to me and John. Nobody said a word, not even when they saw how happy I was with Sarah. They didn't tell me that for anything except because I was going to propose. Had I not announced what I was doing, I wouldn't have known. This bribery went deeper than I could have ever known. They were people I could rely on, people I thought of as family. I had sat with them for hours, telling jokes, secrets, and stories. But they'd all played games to leave me blind, and Sarah had turned me over and over. Then Sarah and Mark are back, and the group's not broken. They share images and videos on social media like nothing ever happened. They even mention me sometimes in posts, probably just for a little bit of salve. I have considered putting them in quarantine, but the other half of me does not want them to feel like they got me. I have separated myself from all of them except John. He's been my rock all this. He had cut them off too, stayed when I needed him. If there is any hope for this shit, it is that I have a friend for life in John. It hasn't stopped hurting though after months of this. I was supposed to marry Sarah, and now I have no idea what to do. The nights are the hardest, and that is when it all starts coming back to haunt you, and everything just becomes too much. I try to be strong, but some days I want to go and fuck it up and cry. I doubt it ever will. What about the pit in my breast? I know I have to quit, but it's like escalating a mountain, and there is no end. I am just taking one day at a time, and trusting there are more days. I am glad you read my story. Sounds like a scene from a sad film, but this is my reality, and somehow I'm getting used to it.